and that the dominance hierarchy as a structure is at least 300 million years old, which makes it older than trees. And it's for that reason that you share the same neurobiology to govern your observations of your position in the hierarchy as lobsters do, which is a remarkable fact. You know, it's remarkable that the lobster uses serotonin as the mechanism to adjudicate its status position, and that modifying the serotonin function in the lobster can produce changes in its behavior, can help the lobster overcome defeat, for example, which is very much equivalent to what happens to a human being when they take antidepressants. You know, it's a good example of the conservation of biological structure by evolution, and a good illustration of the continuity of life on Earth. It's really amazing. But the other thing it is a testament to is the ancient nature of the social structure. Now, we tend to think of the social structure as something other than nature, right? Because society is, I suppose, mythologically opposed. It's opposed in a narrative way. Culture is opposed to nature. It's the town in the forest. But the town has been around a long time, so to speak, and the structure of the town is also part of nature, in that the dominance hierarchy is part of nature. And because it's so ancient, you have to consider it as part of the mechanism that has played the role of selection in the process of natural selection. And so roughly what seems to happen is that there is a plethora of dominance hierarchies, especially in complex human communities, and many of them are masculine in structure, in that they're dominance hierarchies that primarily men compete in, or that has been the historical norm, and that some men rise to the top based on whatever the dominance hierarchy is based on, and they make their preferential mates. And it's a good strategy for women to engage in, because and many sorts of female animals do precisely this, is they let the males battle it out and then pick from the top. Or often the dominant males, there's no choice on the part of the females, it's the dominant males just chasing away the subordinate males. But with humans, it's usually the case that the females have the opportunity to do at least some choosing. And so we have, if you think about that, what that implies is that we have evolved to climb up dominance hierarchies. And then I would say it's not exactly that even, because there are many different dominance hierarchies. And so the skills that you might use to climb up one might not be necessarily the same skills that you would use to climb up another. And so then I would say what we have evolved for instead, and I'm still speaking mostly on the masculine edge of things, historically speaking, is the ability to climb up the set of all possible dominance hierarchies, right? And that's a whole different idea. It's like the averaged hierarchy across vast spans of time. And I think it's for that reason that we, among others, that we evolved general intelligence, because general intelligence is a general problem-solving mechanism, and it seems to be situation independent, so to speak. And of course, there's been an arms race for the development of intelligence between men and women, because each gender has to keep up with the other, and women have their own dominance hierarchies. There's certainly no doubt about that. And of course, now men and women more increasingly compete within the same hierarchies, and we don't exactly know how to sort that out yet, because it's an extraordinarily new phenomena. But in any case, because of the permanence of the dominance hierarchy, it has come to be represented in fundamental narratives, because human beings, and this is something that we share everywhere, it's the thing the Wall Street banker shares with the Kalahari Kung Bushmen, who are among the, genetically speaking, they seem to be very close to what the most original human beings were like in Africa before the diaspora about 50,000 years ago. But, you know, both of those people, despite their vast differences, live in communities that have a hierarchical structure. that are composed of individuals that are embedded in a natural world, you know, the world outside of the dominance hierarchy. And so that's the standard human environment, I would say. And so stories that rely on the representations of those environments and their interactions are what you might describe as universal stories, and that's why people can understand them. And I would say further, and this is drawing substantially on, say, derivations of the work of Carl Jung, because I think he delved into this more deeply than anyone else, so a lot of this stuff is quite Jungian in its origins. The commonality between human beings, so you know, you have to have commonalities in order to communicate, right? Axiomatic commonalities, because otherwise you have to explain everything. And so there's many things that human beings don't have to explain to one another. We don't have to explain anger, we don't have to explain jealousy, we don't have to explain fear, we don't have to explain pain, we don't have to explain joy, we don't have to explain love, etc. Those are built into us, and so they're predicates of being human. And you could say that those human predicates and the standard human environment produce standard narratives. And then you could say even further, and this is more of a leap, I would say, is that those who act out the role of the victor in those standard narratives are precisely the people who attain victory in life. And I would say biologically defined, in that they make more attractive partners, but also I believe that there's an alignment between human well-being, which is a very weak word, and participation in these meta-narratives that drive success. Because, well, do you want to be a failure or a success? Well, you know, it's hard to be a success. You have to adopt a lot of responsibility, and so you might be willing to take your chances as a failure, but I'm not going to make the presumption that that's going to put you in a situation other than one where you experience a lot of frustration, anger, disappointment, depression, pain, and anxiety at the bottom of the heap. And so generally that's not what people are aiming for, although under certain circumstances, if people don't like responsibility and are willing to take their chances, they might take the irresponsibility and its apparent freedoms over the necessity of thinking things through the medium and long run.